Welcome to another video from Dr. Lock. Okay, we have had some progress. So I got the frames up as you saw in the last video, and then I got the levels up as well as you saw in the last video. But since then I've actually pulled the levels down and adjusted them and retweaked them because they weren't exactly keeping the poles, the left and the right one, square. So I didn't like that, so a bit of cutting, welding, grinding and adjusting, and now I've rebolted it up so that now they're actually nice and square. Originally I didn't have the feet bolted down, and I thought, what my thought is put these middle sections in and they should be fairly accurate, and then everything else will kind of square up. And it just didn't work. So when I bolted it all up, we had these pillars which were, you know, on an angle, shooting backwards and forwards in all different directions. So what I did is I started, pulled it all down, and then started by bolting them in. So I bolted them in now, and then from there measured out the distance that was needed from left to right, put them in, put the next shelf in, and then made a door. So I'm going to make another door, and then I'm going to put that top beam across the top, and that should also give it some more rigidity. With the shelving, the actual frames I use 50 by 50 of 3mm of this stuff here, and it's a fairly thick gauge, but maybe not thick enough. See that? So I'm hoping when I put this top beam in and I put some slats across it, that it actually gets a little bit more rigid. The door as well is 30 by 30 by I think 2mm, and you see my welding and grinding there, it's not too bad. But when you look at this, see, so the question is now, and I've got to put some locks on it. Leave your comment down below what type of locks you think I should put on it. The question is now, how do we make those doors more rigid? So I'll probably go for a cross brace similar to what you can see in the back there. That's fly bracing, I believe it is, but this will have to be a solid steel bracing. So I've got options. I can go for solid steel, I can go for cable, go for some sort of L brackets. Let me know in the comments what you think we can do to make that more rigid. And also let me know what type of locks you think. I mean, I was thinking about just a magnet touching onto the steel with a handle on the front. That would be more than sufficient, but you know, there might be another way of doing it. Then again, we could go for a locking type lock where we could have a little flap that comes out from this middle one, you know, so the door closes, the little flap is in the middle with like a little hole in it. We clip a padlock on, which will block both doors. That's another option too. There's many different options. I was going to put hydraulic struts on it, but I don't see the need. I don't think it's, you know, going to be necessary. With my hinges here, they do stick out about, I don't know, 10mm more than I'd like. I'm thinking about changing them, putting some different hinges on just to keep the hinge profile a little bit lower. I mean, it's not going to look too bad once it's black and it's painted. And the whole idea of this whole episode is to create that space and also to hide the ugliness of the build of this, the design of sheds. So as you know, with sheds, you've got these big 300 by 80mm, what do they call them, columns or pillars, and they're just ugly, they're in the way. So the idea is to try and blend them in and hide them. And as you see, the roof as well, ugly as, just because of the design of it. I mean, if you're using it just as a normal shed, that's fine. If you're spending a lot of time and then you want it to look a little bit nicer like I do, well then that's why we're kind of doing this. So anyway, that's where we're up to at the moment. Leave your comments down below what you think we should be doing different, and what type of lock or ways to make this more rigid. I was thinking cable, and then tighten those cables right up. That should make it more rigid. Or we go for a flat bit of steel on the back and we do a cross and just weld them all on to all different corners. Keep in mind there is going to be paneling on the front of this, wooden panel, lacquered wooden panel against the black, so it should be okay. And also it leaves this top section here. If you see that, that's a good 300-400mm from the door up. So once I introduce the top bar from left to right, I'm thinking I might even do just another little panel above it to try and reduce that space, because that to me kind of looks shitty. 400mm gap looks shitty. I've got to do something with it. It's not going to be structural, it's just purely going to be for looks. But you know, if you're going to go this much trouble, you might as well go a little bit further and try and block that off. At least then when you look at it, you've got the roof, you've got the panel, the doors, the underneath panel, and the color of the black, and then blending into the tables. I was even thinking of the power as well. I'll put the power in, but I was thinking, you know, realistically, you want more of the PowerPoints probably under the bench to control the computers and all the sort of stuff you got under the bench. These ones are on top of the bench, and they give a good resource to when you're plugging things in, plugging things out, like charging and all that sort of stuff, you know, laptops, devices. But I was even thinking about taking the conduit away and coming up from the bottom and then running underneath the bench, and just coming up with one conduit and cut the bench out to accommodate it, and then also changing these over to black. I mean, because I can do it. It's just a matter of going to my local shop and getting 4 more housings or lifter boxes, whatever they're called, and then 4 black PowerPoints. And I'll go with the USB ones. So, or even I could drop these under the table, recycle them, and then do some black ones on top. That way, hopefully, it might look a little bit nicer. Anyway, that's where we're up to with the project. Leave your comments down below, and thanks for watching.